We are gathered here today for the fifth in the series of our Meet the Press for 2017. Today is the turn of the minister who is responsible for our safety and security. And I think that that is important.
The aim of this presentation and brief is just to apprise you with some activities, achievements, and challenges within the year of the Ghana Armed Forces. Clearly, the Ghana Armed Forces stands for one and one thing only, to make sure that you feel safe within Ghana. Whether by air, by land, or by sea. The President of the Republic, in all instances, have insisted that the safety and candor of every Ghanaian is paramount. And so whatever we do, we must ensure that that is paramount. I hope, and I want to assure you that the discussions we'll be holding here will be very frank, and it will be one of the things that we will try to ensure. One of the first benefits of holding bilateral relations, which we started as one of the first things that we did, was that we had a grant of 30 million Ghana cedis from the people, the government and people of the Republic of China for re-equipping the Ghana Armed Forces. We also got 4 Defender-class boats from the Chinese government. And I'm happy to say that I recently commissioned this to augment our fleet so that our oil resources and our economic zone within the sea, the 200 nautical miles, can be protected. But on the home front, we have some engagement with sister ministries, including the ministry we are today. We had Foreign Affairs, we had engagements with all the ministries, we had engagements with Ministry of Finance, we had engagements with Ministry of Lands, Ministry of Science and Environment, Science and Technology, in the partnership in the Galamsey fight. The first thing and the first action the President ordered me to do was to find, wherever we needed to find that money, $30 million, which was an arrears owed by us as a country to our peacekeeping soldiers who were on the field. We did it in 2 tranches. First, $30 million and another $17 million. And that settled the issue of peacekeeping arrears. That settled the issue of trying to struggle to always look for money to pay our soldiers. And that settled the issue of soldiers having to come to Ghana to receive their end dollar for the period that we talked about. In the internal front, or internal operations that I'll be looking at, and then I'll look at the external operations, the Ghana Armed Forces has engaged itself in a number of joint operations with the civil police. As part of their mandate, they are supposed to keep internal peace, and they do that in conjunction with the civil police. The long-running Operation Gongon still continues. Operation Gongon started in 1994 when the conflict in the north erupted. And it is geared at maintaining peace in the northern part of Ghana. So you still have a detachment of a platoon of soldiers in Bimbala, my constituency. You have them in Yendi, you have some of them in all parts, Nakpanduri, you have some of them in Boku, you have some in Wa, and all the northern parts of Ghana. So you have the 6th garrison in Tamale Kamina, you have the Airborne Force, Mile 9, and you have the Air Force Base also at Mile 9, helping the 3 regions of the north to be calm when it comes to Operation Gongon, and that is going on. Operation Calm Life. With Operation Calm Life, the armed forces collaborates with the Ghana police to curb incidents of armed robberies, Some of you, as you go on the road, you will see soldiers on the road helping the police to maintain the issue of armed robberies on the road, particularly the long stretch from Kintampo to Tamale, the long stretch on the Kumasi Road, the Eastern Corridor Road, the Western Corridor Road to Wa. You will see soldiers working with the police. That is what we call Operation Calm Life. And the Operation Sit Down Look, the Ghana Armed Forces teams up with National Security, the Ghana Immigration Service, and the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority to check illegal activities along our main borders. Our main borders, whether it's cocoa smuggling or whether it's goods smuggling or whatever you have, our main borders are expected to be safe. So Operation Calm Down Look is a code. It is a term that is coded to ensure that our borders are safe, the customs are able to collect the revenue, and everybody within the area is okay. Operation Halt 1 was to curb illegal lumbering. You will see, in conjunction with the Forestry Division, they have Operation Halt 1, and you see a few soldiers, 2, 3 sometimes, aiding the police and aiding the forestry people to take and to seize illegal chainsaw logs that people carry along. And they do that on a daily basis. They will then send it back to the yard of the forestry people for them to look and be sure that they are good. And if they are good, they will hand over to the person. If they are illegal, they will prosecute the person and make sure they dispose of the goods. Operation Halt 2 was a code term that the Ghana Armed Forces was assisting the mining companies to prevent encroachment on their concessions and also to prevent illegal mining. Until the president put Operation Gongon, Operation Halt 2 was what was going on. It's still going on. So you are going to have some soldiers protecting huge companies that bring a lot of resources for us, but are not allowed to mine because some illegal people or some people who are lawbreakers decide that I am going to the concession of AGC or Newmont to go and mine illegally and force them off and use all sort of offensive weapons. So they do that in conjunction with the police and others to prevent that. It was one of those occasions that we lost the late Major Mahama. Unfortunate as it is, we still regret that occasion. Operation Jubilee is aimed at protecting our oil fields. So you have the Navy doing that a lot, and once in a while the Air Force, with some of our planes, if they are available, will always pass there to ensure that we have our oil resources safe. We have huge oil resources out there. They need to be safe. You and me cannot go there and protect it. So it's the duty of the Ghana Armed Forces to do that, and they do that with Operation Jubilee. Operation Peace Trail is activated every election year, and that's what happened a year today, that they were supposed to provide security before, during, and after elections. And the Ghana Armed Forces, I'm proud to say, did a very good job, yeoman's job, and are always, let me repeat, always loyal to the state. The moment a president is sworn in, allegiance switches to that president. And that's how the Ghana Armed Forces stand. And every member does that. Once there's an election, and on the midnight of the 6th, the Armed Forces switches their allegiance to the next government. And then we move on. Once another election comes, they continue like that. And that is how the Armed Forces operates. That's called loyalty to the state of the Republic and the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. And now we have a new term. There are several others that they do, several other operations that they joint operation. In fact, we have close to 23 different operations that they do jointly with the police and others to make sure you and myself feel safe. Nobody is stopping the mining. Mining will continue to go on, whether big or small, but it must be legal, it must be coordinated, and must be regulated. So the president decided to form a task force with the military and the police, 400 men, to go and stop the illegal mining called Galamsey. And that is, it was codenamed Operation Vanguard. They are on the field working. Today, I can report to the people of Ghana that we have moved the Navy to go augment the efforts of the Operation Vanguard people who were originally on the ground. So the numbers are more than the 400. Because we realized that the water bodies were still not improving. The chamfines that they were mining on the river, they were still doing it. So the Navy has moved in. The engineering regiment of the Army, Corps has also moved in to also assist. They also have a few boats and a few equipment to assist. The police will also be sending their marine police. They will deploy their marine police to assist so that we can curb this illegal mining. That's what we call Operation Vanguard. So far, it's going well. We just hope that we continue to receive the sort of support that we have received from the people of Ghana to enable us do that. But I'll give you a few statistics for you to see what they are doing. Over the period, that is 1st of August so far until the 30th of November, a few arrests were made. Persons that were arrested, even though the new Operation Vanguard were there, they still went and got themselves arrested, because I expected that once the Operation Vanguard was there, everybody would move away. But a few people were still intransigent and got themselves arrested. 673 people have been arrested within that period. The excavators that were seized and were still working on the field, 143. Then the Shamfai machines, 1,719. The arms and ammunition that were seized within the period, the arms were 28, the varieties, different varieties, pump action, different ones, 28 varieties were seized. Ammunitions, 301 of various natures were also seized. Explosives, 143. All these are kept in different areas. Some at the police stations, some are also kept in the warehouses, some are kept at the district assemblies. But there are a few difficulties in getting some of them moved, because they disable some of the bulldozers, and so you cannot even move them unless you are able to get a part to be able to move. So some of these difficulties came. I visited with the Interior Minister the 3 forward operation base in the Eastern region, Western region, and Ashanti region, and I can say that I'm very proud of what they are doing. With external operations, Ghana continues to participate in UN peace support operations, what we call UN peacekeeping, in Lebanon, in DR Congo, in Mali, in South Sudan, and then under ECOWAS in ECOMIC. Whilst we still have some few experts in different areas, the Golan Heights in Sudan, in Mali, in Liberia, and a few other areas, training other armies. And so the United Nations Entry Force in Lebanon, we are there. The United Nations Stabilization Mission in DR Congo, called MONUSCO, we are there. The UN mission in the Republic of Sudan, called UNMISS, the armed forces are there. The United Nations Multi-Dimensional Integrated Stabilization Force in Mali, MINUSMA, the armed forces are there. And then, of course, the ECOWAS mission called ECOMIC in the Gambia, we are still there. Some personnel were also deployed in very small numbers in other areas, like the African Union, United Nations Hybrid Operations in Darfur, UNAMID, we have some there. The United Nations mission in Central African Republic, we have our Ghanaian soldiers there. The United Nations Interim Force in Abyei, in South Sudan, we have our soldiers there. The African Union mission in Somalia, we have a few people there. In all, we have 2,174 armed troops in the 4 major missions, and about 137 other deployed as experts in missions in other areas of the world. But from this month, he is already gone. Major General Vip Sanziri has assumed duty at the United Nations Disengagement Force, UNDOF, in Jerusalem as his force commander. That's the first black person or first African to assume that kind of thing. So we should be proud that both the Syrians and the Israelis would trust a Ghanaian soldier to take up that kind of thing. It's something that we should all knock our chests and be very proud of. Honorable Chairman, over the period, we also withdrew from some missions, like Côte d'Ivoire, we withdrew from there because we had achieved, the UN has achieved its aim, and peace was, I will not say guaranteed, but there was enough to show that the country could stand on its feet, so the UN withdrew from there. They also withdrew from Liberia, even though we have a few, about 6 soldiers who are still there training the Liberian force, but the main troops withdrew. Then the aviation unit, what we call the aviation unit at MINUSMA, Mali, also withdrew in October, because the people want to drive the UN out. They keep killing people every day. Soldiers from other countries are dying every day. So they will shoot 10 miles away, it will destroy your aircraft. We're just lucky. But the UN has also asked us to bring in some other smaller teams because of our ability. We have a 6-man Aero medical evacuation team that is in MONUSCO now and MINUSMA. And then the UN is asking that we bring an independent infantry company for, I think, South Sudan. And they are still working out the modalities to send them in. And they are asking us to do other things as well. We are considering all these offers, and we will take the best decision in the interest of the people of Ghana. The first thing we also did when we came under the peacekeeping was to ensure that we increase the end dollar, the amount of money a soldier earns a day. When we came, the former government had promised to increase it from $30 to $31. During the campaign, of course, I was the one doing the talking. So on behalf of the president today, who was the candidate, I said, well, we're going to increase it 35, from 31 to 35. But when we came, unfortunately, the former government were not able to implement the $31 over the period that they promised. So we decided to increase it straight away from the 30 to 35. So every soldier since the 1st of January 2017 has been receiving $35 a day for the number of days that you serve. Not just that, every soldier that is at the field, all ranks, they also receive their money in the various operation theaters. They don't come home to receive their money. We ensure that they receive their money there. Just this week, the government released $30 million to make sure that all arrears are settled. We are further going to release another $11.7 million this week again to ensure that everything is totally settled, so that the soldiers know that they are comfortable, their money has been given to them, and so nobody should have any complaint. That's what we have been doing for 1 year. We hope that we have life to continue to do that. So on the front of peacekeeping, everything is quiet because the soldiers are receiving what they need to receive. Not just that, the UN was paying what we call leave allowance, $700 for the period that you stay. They will give you what we call leave allowance because you stay, the soldiers used to stay 6 months, but now it is now 1 year. And to stay 1 year completely with that leave is very difficult. So the UN decided that, look, we will give every soldier $700 to be able to come home. Unfortunately, the UN cancelled it. Now, government had to step in, and so we have begun doing that as well. Ghana Armed Forces is also providing training to the troops in Liberia, I've already mentioned, and we're also going to host the Zone F for the implementation of the ECOWAS Integrated Maritime Strategy at the former Osu Castle, what we used to call the Osu Castle. Mr. Chairman, we have a few human development issues that I want to bring to your attention. So far, a total of 831 personnel have been released over the period that I'm talking about, the 1 year. They have completed their engagement with the Ghana Armed Forces, and the government will continue to make sure that funding is released for all of them. So far, we have released funding for everybody. A few others voluntarily decided that, well, I've had enough of the Ghana Armed Forces, and so I want to go. So they get released. Others too serve their mandatory 25 years in the Ghana Armed Forces, and so they go. With the officers, they get released because they've hit the age by which they have to go. Ghana Armed Forces has continued with its normal routine yearly, because as people leave, others will come in, recruitment exercises. This year, for example, the Ghana Armed Forces is going to recruit 1,180, divided into Army 1,200, Navy 200, Air Force 400, and that is ongoing. Within the period, medical personnel, what we call special medical officers, were commissioned. 99 of them. That was in April, March. They were done. And this year, they are going to start. We are in the process of recruiting another 100 special medical intake for the officers so that they can fill in the medical gaps within the Ghana Armed Forces. 37, the Kumasi, and then the new Tamale that will also be taken off. So we are going with that. Currently, the Ghana Armed Forces has decided that training is mandatory, because that's what you do. You train when there's absence of war, hope and praying that nothing happens. So you keep training to sharpen your skills, and so they've been doing a lot of training. The training schools are ongoing. For peacekeeping and Kofi Annan, all of them are ongoing. And the Army Training School at Mats, Naval Training School located at Nukwato, and then the Air Force Training School, all of them, all of them are doing training. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to touch a bit on the infrastructure development that we currently are engaging ourselves. The first one is what the President cut a sword on, barracks regeneration. If you ever have time, visit a barracks and see where the soldiers are sleeping. The only thing you can do is cry and to weep. Because just outside them, we are all as citizens living in posh houses, big, big mansions, air-conditioned houses. And the people who are supposed to help us, support us, guide us, are sleeping in places that, if they ask you to sleep, you may refuse. It's not just good at all. So I'm happy that the President is announced the barracks regeneration during the campaign. I'm happy that I was part of the team that drafted that policy to renovate the old houses and make sure that we have new houses built. So far, 4 apartments of 16 blocks have been given on contract. The contractors are telling us by January, February they will finish. The one the President cut short on. Another 380 for the Navy have been completed. They started, I think, 2 years ago. We are starting massively with some amount of dollars, millions of dollars, from Tamale to Takoradi to all the places to renovate the old ones and also build new ones. Because the housing deficit as we sit today within the Ghana Armed Forces is more than 6,000 homes. I'm talking of housing deficit. If I were to remove the dilapidated houses that people sleep in, then we will be having close to 10,000 housing unit deficit within the Ghana Armed Forces. And if we decide to recruit as we are doing, then we are increasing the housing deficit within the Ghana Armed Forces. And I think that the government is holding the bull by the horns to ensure that we complete it. That is the reason why the SNIT housing projects that were abandoned since 2008 were activated. Government released 23 million to the contractors. Some have been paid so far. Those who have been able to raise certificates have forwarded them. They have been paid, and then they are continuing with their job. And these housing units, if they are completed, will go a very long way to assist the armed forces to get good accommodation. So government has decided to tackle the old SNIT housing units, tackle new housing units, and has cut short for us to do a lot of renovations that are currently ongoing on. The projects that were outlined as part of the visit of His Excellency the Vice President to China, when they promised to give 25,000 housing units to the security forces, the armed forces are working in conjunction with the Ministry of Western Housing to ensure that a number of these housing units are dedicated to the armed forces. Unlike other security services, armed forces cannot be housed in the town. It's you and I, our duty, to house them and to make sure that they are training every day and are physically fit so that they can defend us. The new military hospital, I have already given the contractor 6 months to ensure that he finishes the job. Originally, when I came, he promised that February they will finish. Clearly, I can see it is not possible. The one in Kumasi, that he can finish. He's given a new date of August. I say 6 months from January. We should be able to go there because government last year made an allocation for 2,000 workers. In 2018 budget, government has again made an allocation for 2,000 workers to start immediately for the employment. Nurses, cleaners, all of them. So I've asked the contractor that whatever difficulties that are there, we want that project finished within 6 months so that we can roll out some job opportunities and get the people around that area in Kumasi environment to get good facilities for our hospital, and that is what we have done. There are a number of self-help projects that the military themselves have engaged, and I think that is very commendable. We have the EK Asante Lodge. Some were through PPP partnerships, some were through their own internal generator funds, some were through their own initiatives. They have been able to construct the EK Asante Lodge Air Force Base, the renovation of Gina Ranks Mess Air Force Base, construction of Eagle House Air Force Takoradi, 54-unit bedroom self-accommodation for airmen, construction of terminal for rotary wing aircraft, the Air Force Base Takoradi, construction of Chief of Air Staff Guest House, construction of new hangar, that one was sponsored by government, construction of 280-room airmen accommodation, Gina Ranks Tamale, I was there, construction of computer block and offices for teachers at Air Force Base, construction of a new passenger lodge at Air Force Base in Takoradi, construction of new naval headquarters, construction of the Air Force headquarters, construction of the 16-unit quarter accommodation. And in 2018, the construction of the Army headquarters would also begin. Where the Oracle calls, we have new dormitory blocks, we have Northern Command that is ongoing on, new headquarters for Air Force, the renovation of Central Command, academic block that's going on, 33 rooms for airmen, and a few others. The Mandi Housing Project, I've already mentioned it. And then the new cemetery, the infamous cemetery that we had to get the prices reviewed, there is also ongoing. And the Armed Forces Bank, you have heard of the Armed Forces Bank. We suspended the activities of the Armed Forces Bank because there were a few messy things about it. A few details were not too clear about the ownership, about who owns it, the number of shares, how it's been operated. It was not too clear to us. But what I can say is that we have straightened it. And now the Bank of Ghana has access to continue. And I'm happy that from next year, that bank issue will continue for all of us. There were difficulties in the management of the Armed Forces lands. Of course, it is maybe true or may not be true because we are still investigating that some portions of that land have not been acquired. But Armed Forces as per se does not have money to acquire. It's the duty of government to acquire the land for the Armed Forces. And I think that the way that Armed Forces lands were handled, I'm not happy about it. That we decided to sell that land to ourselves, including top politicians, are living in there. And I think there's a shame that we did that. Because now we have squeezed the Armed Forces in Burma camp. And I think that if I have my will, and we are still going by it because we are in a democracy, I would have gone after those people. It's not good. Within 2 years, we sold every piece of land. Over 300 acres of land to individuals. And Lands Commission is colluding to do that. People in Lands Commission were selling Armed Forces lands. Not under this watch. That cannot happen any longer. And anybody who decides to encroach on Armed Forces land, please leave. It's not in your interest. We didn't manage the Armed Forces lands well. And I think that we should take a good step and look at ourselves in the face. We are in a democracy, so soldiers cannot take a gun and beat people up. Soldiers cannot go and demolish houses. So the best we could do is to protect them. All around the world, Mr. Chairman, the military is engaged in defense industries. That is the reason why the Ghana Armed Forces decided that as part of their vision, they will relook at defense industries. So they set up a few industries, including the Kumasi shoe factory that was supposed to have been. Because for some reason, government wanted to give a grant, a loan with a grant of 6 million Ghana cedi from either Eddie Fund or one of these funds. We then pick an individual, gave him this money, and gave out, as part of the 6 million, a grant of 4 million. And that individual has 60%, and Armed Forces 40%. I have paid a lot of money to this individual. Nobody is accountable to me. Because the individual believes the company is for him. That's why Kumasi Shoe Factory is having the problem that it's having. The structure was wrong. Armed Forces has no control over the shoe factory. So they just name it Armed Forces Shoe Factory. It's not true. It's owned by an individual, 60%. And I think that that will also be reviewed. The powers of the Constitution are vested in the politicians. But we must ensure that we live up to the people and not try to do things that will not help us. Go and see the amount of facilities that is there, the land alone, at the shoe factory in Kumasi. Visit it and you will see. Government promised to ensure that we will revamp 37. We are looking for partners. The same thing with the Tamale. The transactional advisor has now been found, and the company is giving us a period of up to February to come and cut salt. So we are following up on that. We followed all the necessary procurement processes so that we can start a new hospital in Tamale. But I think it is time for us to invest in the security services, because without peace, you cannot develop. But I tell you, if you ask countries that didn't invest in their security services, they will tell you that if they could wind the clock backwards, Liberia president at that time will invest in the security services. So I'll urge that all of us as Ghanaians, we support the security services to make sure they stand on their feet. Ladies and gentlemen, we in the media will want to acknowledge that the welfare of our military veterans who have dedicated their lives to the service of this country is a national obligation. In fact, all the soldiers you see today will one day retire, and that's where they will go. In most countries, the moment you see somebody and the person is a veteran, you salute him. They are heroes. They are expected to buy things, and the companies or the individuals will give them 10% rebate. Government stores should give them 10% because they have sacrificed all their lives for us. And when you see some of them, you want to weep. So government is interested in ensuring that the welfare of the veterans are protected. I was in Tamale, and I appealed to the chief that the land that belongs to the veterans around the calendar park, we want it protected. He agreed, and I'm happy that that has been done. The veterans village or the lands around 37, very prime land. Whatever happened to that land, I will dig into it, and I'll know exactly what went on. Mr. Chairman, it is important to state that for the outlook of 2018, the government intends to acquire about 6 patrol boats for the armed forces. That is for the Navy, to be able to patrol and protect our waters. I'll give you what currently is happening. The oil companies need patrol boats to protect them. Because we don't have, they bring these boats from outside. And they charge $11,000 a day. So you and my money are going to outsiders. And that is the truth. What if we had these facilities? This $11,000 per boat would have come to us as a country. There are billions of dollars sitting at the Jubilee fields and are not protected. I think that it is time to support the government in doing that. Government also intends to ensure that the army has the tanks, not tank, the armored vehicles that they need, and the troop carrying vehicles. I was in 6th Garrison. They have one bus, one. And that bus, I think, is older than me. It's true, but that's the truth. They have one bus, 6th Garrison. Kamina, Air Force Base, Airborne Base. They have one bus. And that bus, master, if they say sit inside, you won't sit. In fact, if they push you inside, if you are dead, cry, they push you inside, you wake up and get out. But that's the truth. So government, the same thing, all across. So the wives and children and officers who go for welfare issues, who go for training, who travel between here and Accra, people enter an aeroplane from Lebanon, and when they reach Accra, they are forced into the TCVs, the troop carrying vehicles. The TCVs are those vehicles which ordinary people call Abongo vehicles. I think you know them. Those long military vehicles they call Abongo. So they sit in that, then to Tamale. Abba, why? So government has decided to buy at least 50 comfortable buses for our military personnel. So that from next year, if we can't even do anything for them at all, they should also be able to sit in air-conditioned buses that the VVIP and the VIP people use. Because, take it from me, an officer of the Ghana Armed Forces dressed in uniform cannot enter a trotro. because that's what the law says. So he has to charter a taxi. So if he stayed in Kaswa, as some of them are currently doing, every day he has to charter a taxi. So you know what they do? They wear civilian uniform and enter Trotro. And then their uniform is in the back. And then when they reach, then they will now enter their friend's room and dress. It's a shame. That is not good for us. I hope that I've given you an insight into what we do at the Ministry of Defense, what the Armed Forces does. But in spite of all the difficulties I've mentioned, like I said before, the Armed Forces are prepared and ready to defend this nation. And every country around us, they know. Every country around us, they know that they are prepared and ready and willing to die for us, in spite of all the difficulties. So anybody who is entering the armed forces, that is the tradition that person will follow. I thank you very much. God bless you.